Bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. Singing Viva Las Pegasus. Viva Las Pegasus. Viva, Viva Las Pegasus. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, after being part of the map of Equestria for years, we finally get to see the city of Las Pegasus, along with its never-ending crowds and parties. And I gotta say, with all the variety the animators came up with here, it's rather impressive. They recreated both the look and feel of Las Vegas while still keeping the activity suitable for a younger audience. If anything, some of the attractions feel more like what you'd find at a Chuck E. Cheese, especially that DDR machine. Which, when you think about it, ponies have access to arcade machines but still no television? Anyways, let's have a look at the story. Applejack and Fluttershy are called to Las Pegasus, and yeah, these really are the last two characters of the main six who'd want to go to a place like this. Though I can really appreciate an episode that focuses exclusively on these two, since we really haven't had any story where they could really play off each other. We've seen them on opposite sides of an issue in bats, and even settling a dispute with beavers, but I'm glad we finally got a story where they're the main focus. In fact, this may be the very last of the possible main six duo combinations in the entirety of the show's run. Looking back, I think every other pairing has already happened at least once. But we can't have a Cutie Map episode without a friendship problem to solve, and while at first glance everything seems to be on the up and up, it doesn't take long for a very familiar pair of voices to draw our attention. Flim and Flam return for their third episode in the series, and yet it's really not for the reasons we'd think. In fact, one of the best elements of this story is that you really don't know what's going to happen next. It takes less than a minute for Applejack and Fluttershy to arrive in Las Pegasus, which, by the way, I can also appreciate the writers bringing us straight into the plot a lot quicker than most other stories. And when they arrive, we are introduced to one Gladmane, who for the most part seems like a stand-in for Elvis Presley, but I suspect the writers had one or two other inspirations for the character along the way. And when Flim and Flam are introduced, you'd think they were pulling another one of their scams with the eventual goal of taking over Gladmane's establishment. And when Applejack instantly dismisses any possibility of wanting to help Flim and Flam, with very good reason given their history, you'd think that Applejack just needed to get over her stubbornness and realize they really represented the broken friendship she was supposed to fix. And when it turned out that other ponies started fighting amongst themselves and you start realizing that Gladmane was behind it all along, you really start looking forward to whatever might happen next. That's what drew me into this episode, as it kept you guessing, and you really couldn't know how things were going to end right from the start like some of the other stories we've seen before. I know I've mentioned in some of my previous reviews about how a predictable episode can take a bit of the enjoyment out of a first viewing, but Viva Las Pegasus is a good example of messing with your expectations, because yeah, Flim and Flam did take over in the end, and yeah, Applejack did have to put aside her stubbornness to fix their friendship, but not for the reasons we thought they would. One of the strengths of these Cutie Map episodes is putting characters in new locations and introducing new conflicts in ways that really play to those characters' strengths. It was important to the story for Applejack to refuse going anywhere near the Flim Flam brothers in the first place so the bigger picture could eventually be revealed. And it was important for Fluttershy to reach out to what seemed like irredeemable con artists because, again, out of all the main six, Fluttershy was the only one willing to put up with Discord shenanigans long enough for him to change. I appreciate seeing a story where the main focus is on Applejack and Fluttershy, but I appreciate far more that the writers kept delaying that possibility until there was a genuine reason for the two of them to work together. If there was any real flaw with the episode as a whole, it would probably be the comedy, since I don't remember laughing at any of the jokes. But considering that every other element of the setup, the conflict, and even the resolution worked out so well, it doesn't really bother me. I'd say this is a very worthwhile episode, which I may go back to from time to time. But what do you think? Given how long we've had to wait for a story that focused exclusively on Applejack and Fluttershy, do you think the conflict really fit with their characters? Did you believe you'd ever see a story where Flim and Flam were actually working with Applejack to solve a problem? What other stories do you think would fit nicely in a never-ending party environment? I would like to hear your thoughts on Viva Las Pegasus, and here's looking forward to the next Cutie Map episode and the exotic new locations that come with it. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.
At no additional charge!
There seems to be something missing here. Can't quite put my finger on it. Ah, there we go.